muted until such time as there's a vote or there's some comment that you'd like to offer. Additionally, Chair Lanstra, you'll likely want to call roll just for the sake of folks who are listening over the phone. So as we vote, you'll have to ask each individual member of the commission to state whether they're present, and then again, when they vote on the issue, they'll present themselves. You'll say, Commissioner Goering, and he'll say what he'd like to vote. And that way we can get a true vote rather than just the hands up or the ayes all collectively, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. And with that, we are live. And we've got it set on YouTube so that it only sees who's speaking, like the presenter, so it'll pop up. But please know that you have a setting in this program that says view up at the top, and you can choose everyone or just who's talking or just me, but I don't think you want to do just me.
All right. Are you ready? Are we ready to go then, Maddie? Get started?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the Creswell Planning Commission meeting. Today is June 18th, 2020, and it is 4:37 p.m. Thanks everybody for joining us on computers or iPads or phones or wherever you are. All right, we'll go ahead and take roll then. Present, I know I am present, Jessica Lanstra. Susan Bennett, are you here?
Yes.
All right, Susan Bennett is present. David Christopher.
Yes.
All right. Ed Gunderson.
Yes.
Seth Clark.
Present.
Patrick Gehring. And Tammy Sue Shuck, who I do not see. Okay. Tammy is absent.
Tammy mentioned that she was struggling to get on at the time that we scheduled. So like I said, we'll try to accommodate everyone next time, but thanks for those who are able to make it this time.
All right. We will move on to the minutes from April 16th, 2020, our last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Yes, I see some nods. Okay. Yes, okay. Okay. Would anyone like to move to approve the minutes?
David moves to approve the minutes.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Susan. All right, I guess I will ask all those who are in favor. Okay, I am in favor, Jessica Lanstra. Susan Bennett, are you in favor of approving the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. David Christopher.
Yes.
Okay. Ed Gunderson.
Yes.
Patrick Gehring.
Same because of not being there for the meeting.
Okay. And Seth Clark. I couldn't hear you, Seth.
Yeah, I got to put the mic on. I abstained as well. I was not present at that meeting.
Okay. Great. Well, it looks like the unanimously decision to approve. All right. So thank you to the audience who is watching, listening. I see we have Nathan on video here and whoever else is on YouTube visiting us from wherever you are. Thanks for being out there. All right. Do we have any commissioner comments?
Yeah, I'm again about stormwater. I read a while ago that they're expecting a couple amount of stormwater in I noticed in this what we're going to discuss today, the subdivision. I guess we don't. There's a new stormwater plan coming. Is it being considered these extreme rain events?
To answer your question, Commissioner, we are developing a stormwater master plan, and to my understanding, we are considering rain events up to a 40-year storm for the storm system to function. I do not believe that it is part of our stormwater master plan at this time to consider events more significant or that might occur with more severity, but it's certainly something that the city will consider public comment for. So I think that you'll have opportunity to provide input, and I can certainly mention to Cliff now that you're interested in providing that comment.
All right, do we have anyone else who has a comment?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to go on the record, let everybody know I have been approved to be a planning commissioner for the city of Coburg as well, because I'm a business owner in that community. I don't view that as a conflict of interest. They didn't view it as a conflict of interest that I'm on 2 commissions. But I just wanted to state for the record that that is the case, and I hope that this body doesn't have an issue with it. But if we do, let's have a conversation, because I've been with this commission for a while, and I find it at this point probably more important to me than whatever services I could offer the community of Coburg. So, thank you.
Thank you, Seth. All right. Anyone else? Any other comments? Patrick? No. Okay. Susan? Okay. All right. David, sorry, I forgot you.
I would just say to Seth that so long as he doesn't miss too many of our meetings, it would be fine.
The good news is that the city of Coburg meets on Wednesday. We meet on Thursday, so so far I don't. Thank you.
All right. Well, we will move on to new business. So we have a public hearing. I'm getting really bad feedback on this. Getting that too. Awful.
I wonder if it's because there's one of the mics is on. I think if we come back through another mic, I think whoever's speaking, if they have their mic on and whoever isn't speaking has their mic off, that might eliminate the feedback.
Okay, we'll try that. Okay, so public hearing for case number sub-2020-01, Craig Estates 3rd edition, a request by Sierra Development on behalf of the Taylor Trust to subdivide 2.41 acres into 13 single-family home lots. The application proposes to divide tax lot 15800 as shown in tax assessor's map 19-03-11-31 into 13 lots. A public road, Owens Way, will be constructed as a component of the development proposal. The property is zoned low-density residential. This application will be reviewed under section 4.1.400 type 3 review, 4.3 lands divisions, section 2.2.120 residential districts, and section 3.1 access and circulation, and section 3.4 public facilities of the Creswell Development Code. All righty, let me get my papers up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll open the hearing, the public hearing on Craig Estates 3rd edition, case number sub-2020-01 is now open. Okay, impartiality. Do any commissioners have an ex parte contact, visited the site, actual or potential conflict of interest or bias to declare? I will ask you guys individually since we are on the computers here. We'll go ahead and start with you, Ed.
No, I'm you know, I'm always concerned about traffic, but I think all the required information about complying with our traffic codes is there, so I don't have a problem with that in concern.
Seth?
No, I don't. I don't think I have any bias to declare.
Okay, thank you. Susan? No? Okay, Patrick? No? Okay, and David?
No, I don't.
Thank you. I also do not. Okay, Maddie, will you please present the staff report?
Absolutely, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, for bearing with us as we proceed with a public hearing in the absence of being present. You guys are doing a great job, and I just hope that we can continue to carry on city business while we wait for the world to right itself. Tonight, Commissioners, you're considering an application for subdivision, as Chair Lanstra explained, for a 13-lot subdivision that will also include a public road that's approximately 500 feet, Owens Way, which will stretch from Crestwood Drive, the north side of Crestwood Drive, to North Harvey Road, North 5th Street. There are a few details that are worth highlighting within the staff report, and one amendment to make to the staff report. Commissioner Gunderson, you'll appreciate that we did receive some comment about stormwater, so I will share that with you when the time comes up. In fact, our applicant is with us today, or this afternoon. Thank you, Nathan, for joining us. He is the representative of Sierra Development. You heard also the chair describe that the property is about 2.41 acres at 83399 North Harvey Road. This was the former Taylor property. Cal and Bev Taylor, longtime residents of Creswell, are the legacy of this property. One of the reasons why this application carries fairly easily in terms of fitting all the criteria is that, in fact, in 2014, you'll notice a reference to sub 214 2014-01, which is Craig Estates 2nd edition, provided a preliminary or a future build out of the site because of the size of that property at that time. So you'll know also that there is one house on the lot, and there is one house that was partitioned as part of a separate land use action that faces 5th Street. Its address is 83405 North Harvey Road. The application proposes the construction of Owens Way and the connection of all 13 of those lots, plus the house at 83405 to be connected to water and sewer. Utility easements are provided. The right-of-way design meets most of the city's criteria, and I guess I'll highlight what those are. It has a 32-foot curb-to-curb paved width. The applicant proposes 5-foot sidewalks and a section for a planter strip between the curb and the pedestrian area, so the curb and the sidewalk, for the planting of street trees. That area is proposed to be 3.5 feet. Typically, that area can, when we wrote the standards, can either be including or not including the thickness of the curb, which is 6 inches. Staff felt that because of two factors, one, which was the existing right-of-way constraint at the entrance of Fifth Street, so where that 83405 property was partitioned back in 2014, kind of created a northern boundary for where the right-of-way could be. And then secondarily, to increase the size of the right-of-way an additional foot would make the lot 13, I believe, which is the lot that's also adjacent to Fifth Street in the proposed design. It would make that lot less than minimum width, or less than minimum area, at 4,500 square feet. That said, this matches the right-of-way design more or less with the existing stub of Owens Way at the east side, and it fits. It's allowed within our public works design standards to allow for marginal deviation. We were just happy to see that the planter strip was included to allow some more buffer between pedestrians and the driving surface within the roadway. To that end, you'll see several areas within the findings of fact that are in keeping with our design standards. All the lots meet the minimum size, with the largest one being the property proposed to isolate the existing house, which is lot 3. There are several other amenities of the proposal that meet our criteria, which I won't spend too much time on, but know that the applicant will be obligated to provide us with some revised utility drawings, construction drawings, which are typical water and sewer construction drawings, stormwater construction drawings that convey stormwater from impervious surfaces to approved facilities within the requirements of our public works design standards. I'll take a moment here and share the only comment we received outside of agency comments. So if you'll just bear with me for a moment. I worked with, let's see, it's gonna ask, so you're gonna see some other parts of my screen if I do that. Hang on. The only comment we received was with respect to stormwater, and I'm hoping that here we go. You'll be able to see this in a second. Can everyone see my screen here? It says to the City of Creswell Planning Commission. Is that a little better? Can anyone see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, great. Gentlemen, Tom and Sue Solon, who live on Cameron Loop, which these properties back up to the north. And the gentleman identified that the Taylor site slopes downward to the north, and his concern was exacerbating what he believes is already a stormwater challenge. So he identified some lots that are proposed along Owens Way that may continue to cause problems. In an email exchange that I had with Cliff a couple days ago, maybe I can navigate to this and you can see Cliff's response back to me, which was fairly straightforward, and said, hang on. He said that if in fact the grading of that property is a challenge, that the city will require area drains in the back of the new lots that will drain to the storm system in the street to address the issue. This is a standard procedure that we require on any new subdivision with a grading concern. So my hope is to include that in an updated staff report that will accompany the materials in the record. But otherwise, this is a fairly straightforward scenario where we're going to see several new lots developed, and that will necessitate a stop sign at the end of Owens Way, street signs to be reinstalled at the intersections. One thing of note is that as we start annexing and developing property up North 5th Street, North Harvey Road, those street signs will be replaced to say North 5th Street. That's the city's ownership. There's been a little bit of confusion in the last few years about where on 5th Street is city ownership. In fact, we own the whole street all the way north to the city limits. And the county transferred that to us, I believe, in 2010 when they redeveloped the roadway, modernized it. Similarly, you'll notice that there are a couple of new fire hydrants, one at North Harvey Road that may actually be an existing hydrant, and the second will be right in front of the Taylor's house, 83399 Lot 3. There'll be some street lights installed, street trees in compliance with the section 3.2400. That'll total about 28 trees, 14 on each side. ADA ramps installed at North 5th Street. And just one thing of note, which was that there were several easements identified on the properties as an amendment to the findings draft that you have. It says prior to final plat approval on page 17 of the findings that we'll need to add the term "and extinguish" under number 13, record all easements, and extinguish existing septic easements. There are 2 easements that tie those properties together for a septic system that's on site that will be decommissioned as part of this proposal. And we just want to make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted in terms of extinguishing those. You'll see that in prior to building permit approval, number 20, submit construction plans for curb cuts and driveway approaches for all lots. That's missing from the sentence. And there may be a reorientation of the garage at 83399. Right now the property is used all as one piece. And when the new road is put in, the existing garage is proposed to move around to the front to face the new road. And I failed to include that in the findings. So thanks for adding that or amending your findings document to reflect that, please. And then finally, I'll highlight a comment that was received by the city from Sergeant Denham, Lane County Sheriff, and this might be of interest or of note, but as the city begins to develop further north on some of those properties that still have development potential, the city will begin to impose our local speed limits on those roads to reflect that they are city roads. Up until now, they've been left as county facilities with county assigned speed limits. And it's within our prerogative on our roads, I believe, to reduce those speed limits as needed. So Cliff agreed that we ought to reduce the speeds at least up to Niblock. In this case, to reflect that city's 25-mile-per-hour speed limit will be imposed at least to Niblock Lane, if not farther. But that'll be something that's a little separate from this land use action, but it'll come in conjunction with the replacement of the street signs. I think I'll stop there and I'll open it up for questions.
I'm curious what other options were available for that road rather than narrowing the sidewalks.
Well, Commissioner Gunderson, you can see in the staff report I've included a chart, and that's on page 2 of the staff report. It's this teal colored table. There are options to make the road skinnier, but those would come with the reduction of available parking. That's a comment or a line of thinking that we've seen proposed in other applications, especially actually on Nathan's last project, Big Leaf subdivision, where Nathan provided a half street and we included no parking signs on one side. At this time, staff, at least public works staff, believes, and I would tend to agree, that with the inclusion of 13 new houses, we might want to retain on-street parking, not only for convenience, but also it does provide some buffer between pedestrians and the right-of-way in terms, of having a car parked. However, it does pose some challenges related to cyclists and the awareness of cyclists riding on local streets.
Yeah, I understand. I think what made the most sense to me on that was the fact that it would match up with the existing one-way. So I was just curious. I saw your table and didn't quite understand it. I understand now.
Yep. So there, you'll see, I provided an excerpt, but there are other options for local streets, and those would be a reduced curb to curb width of down to 22 feet, but it would preclude the availability of parking. Either way, the planter strips can be increased in size if desired, and the minimum sidewalk size is 5 feet with allowance up to 6 feet. Just options if folks, developers feel that it's of primary importance to provide wide sidewalks or it's part of the aesthetic of the design. We'll never say no to wider sidewalks.
And can I ask a question? Why would you offer smaller sidewalks with a planter strip as opposed to wider sidewalks and no planter strip?
A couple of reasons, Seth. One would be that we typically ask developers to include street trees in their street design, and trees, based on literature and some field testing and analysis, have shown to slow drivers down. The trees provide a feeling of narrower right-of-way. When trees are removed and the curbs are put, we call it curb tight. Curb tight sidewalks basically put the curb right next to driving areas. The trees tend to provide more of like a tunnel feeling, and they've done studies that when you have trees, drivers tend to slow down a little bit. So the trees kind of drive the planter strip as a buffer. Otherwise, the curb tight sidewalk with a wider sidewalk would put the tree on the inside. And that sometimes becomes a challenge with utilities, for one, because we tend to place all of our franchise utilities in that area in the first 7 feet of people's lots. And then two, there are invariably endless questions about whose tree is it and who has to take care of it. And if it's in the street between the sidewalk and the road, it tends to have a better shot of being able to be identified and preserved.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Maddie? David, I can't see your face, so I'll ask you.
My only question is, so the trees and the planter strip are the responsibility of the homeowner to maintain?
Yes, David, the sidewalks are also the responsibility of the homeowner to maintain. We ran into this, actually, you'll recall, back in March of last year when we had that big ice storm, and even in the snow last year, when we were worried about the clearing of sidewalks. So in fact, the street and the sidewalk, or the trees and the sidewalk rather, are the responsibility of the homeowners. However, when the trees are in the planter strip, it's pretty common that the city does come by and maintain them if for some reason they need trimming or if they're causing a hazard. in the road.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other questions for Maddie, guys? No? Okay. All right. Okay, so now we'll move on to a testimony portion. We wish to hear from anyone who is interested in the proposal. Do we have any? Let's see. Maddie, do we have anyone who is interested in the proposal that wishes to speak?
Chair, I just ran into the studio and checked the YouTube live stream, and I did not see any comments. So I do not believe there's anyone that wishes to testify at this time.
Okay.
No one's banging on the door out front either.
You checked that?
I did. I'll check out the window.
Very thorough. All right. Are there any audience members? Nathan, are you wishing to speak at all today? No? Okay. Very good. All right. Then, okay. Commissioners, do we have any further questions before I close the hearing for deliberation? Anything? No? Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and close the hearing and deliberate. What do you guys think?
I felt this one was pretty straightforward. I didn't really see any issues that the neighbors or the city would have challenges with when I was reviewing the staff report. If I'm missing something, please let me know. Otherwise, I think this is a pretty, from my perspective, easy decision on my end.
Yeah, I agree. David, do you have any comments?
Only comment is this, yeah, it's kind of a slam dunk. This isn't Nathan's first ball game, so him and Maddie have worked together before, and they know very well what they've got to do.
Okay. Ed, do you have anything?
No, it looks good. It looks like it meets all our requirements.
Okay. Susan? Okay. And Patrick?
I accept it. It looks good to me.
Okay. Are we ready to make a motion then? Who would like to make the motion? I will make
All right,
the
I'll
motion.
do it.
Okay, go ahead.
David will do it. I move that the planning commission approve with conditions case number SUB-2020-01 Craig Estates, 3rd edition, as represented with amendments, I do believe, and
Thank you.
authorize the chair to sign the findings of fact.
I'll second that.
Great. Okay. All those in favor, we'll start with Ed.
Yes, in favor.
Okay. Great. Clark.
Yes.
Great. Susan.
Yes.
And Patrick.
Yes.
And David.
Yes.
Okay. I also agree. Okay. That passes unanimously. Maddie.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair. Thank you also, Nathan, for joining us. This was a good experiment, and also nice to have the applicant join us for discussion and deliberation, just so you know what folks thought about your proposal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Comment. Was there any way for somebody to be in the city building that wanted to see this meeting?
Yes, Ed. We did have the doors open for the first half hour for folks who may have wanted to participate. And if that were the case, we have a space, our upstairs conference room, that we can set up with we have a big screen TV, and they could view it if they choose. Thanks for asking, though. It's important that if it's a public hearing and an open meeting in Oregon, that we provide opportunities for people.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the staff development summary. Maddie.
Thank you, Chair. Quick, this is everyone's favorite development gossip column for the month of June 2020 in Creswell. Let's see. First things first, land use reviews have picked up significantly since April. We went through kind of a dry spell there from January until April. We've had 6 applications filed. A couple of them have been additions to existing homes, and a couple have been new homes within the Big Leaf subdivision and that adjacent partition up on North 5th Street. So that's great news for both the city's permitting side of things, or the land use side of things, but also for building permitting. We're beginning to run slow on our relationship with the City of Cottage Grove. And so that was showing a bit of a financial impact on our books. And so we're happy to see that pick back up. You can't drive through town without noticing that the 76 gas station is under construction. We've lost the beloved Dairy Queen building, but we will see a new project go up on that property soon. I've spent a bit of time with Mr. Spencer, the owner, and Sarah Scott, his partner, and working through some challenges in getting access permits from ODOT. So that's been enlightening and also challenging. You will not see the application, but we've had an annexation request that'll come before City Council on July 13th, rather. North 5th Street, just south of this property, actually, the Dockeries. I believe they're at 83381 North Harvey. So they're bringing about a half acre of land into the city. We've had, congratulations, Planning Commission, we have had our first upzone application come in.
What does that mean?
Meaning that high density zone that you all created back in February that the City Council adopted in March. We've had our first application for someone to apply it to their property. And it's a lot on Holbrook Lane, on the west side of Holbrook, and the property is vacant currently. It used to have a little red house on it that was very, very old.
I was wondering what happened. Yeah.
Pardon?
Oh, I just drive by that property all the time, and I was wondering what their intent was.
Yeah, and I can't speak to the final design concept, but they want to upzone it so that they can exceed the 16 units an acre limit on low density. And their intent is to the folks who are applying, you'll hear their application next month, I hope, unless we have some procedural steps that take longer. But they own the property across the street. The green multifamily development was built in like the early 2000s. It's a really nice multifamily housing development, and they intend to do something very similar across the street.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the nicest multifamily development in the community. But I'm glad to hear. I didn't know who was developing it, but I just saw some trees disappear.
Yeah, we've been negotiating a little bit with them because there's a very, very large and very important water facility in the rear of that property, the transmission line that comes down from the big tanks at the top of the hill. runs through the back of all of those properties, which from a public works maintenance and operations standpoint is very, we're looking at ways to reroute that water line so that it's not underneath people's homes. So that's, I see Ed laughing. For hindsight is 2020, you know? And so that's exciting. We also have heard interest at the corner, no certainty on it yet, but at the corner of 10th and Oregon Avenue, where a house was just recently replaced and a partition done on that lot. There may be an interest in upzoning that property as well. Otherwise, let's see. We put in staff put in a letter of intent to apply for a Safe Routes to School infrastructure grant. Those are due at the end of August. I'll probably come back to you as a commission either probably in July to review some of the projects that are on that list and identify which in that priority list you think are the most important. But just as a recap, most of the application focuses on improved crossings across streets that have over a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit and a crossing distance that's wider than 24 feet. So those are categorically considered safety zones. And we will likely propose a couple flashing beacons and some new, more visible signage. And finally, I participated am now part of the advisory committee for the City of Cottage Grove is contracting with, Lane Council of Governments, but through a state transit improvement fund, which focuses on how to better serve communities with transit services like buses and vans and all the rest. They're doing a study to assess the Cottage Grove area and wanted our perspective included in that process. And it sounds like there may also be another grant similar to that that will focus on a county-wide transit system plan. Something that we've kind of come up short on, or if you'll remember in the TSP process, we did some outreach to Lane Transit District and got very little back regarding what the future of transit might look like for the city of Creswell. And so Cottage Grove took it upon themselves, having received similarly disappointing or lack of concrete interest in providing any future for what will the bus system look like, or van pooling, or any of that. What will that look like for us? Lane Transit District didn't really provide any details, so Cottage Grove will use this study that we're participating in to inform their transportation system plan. And then further, the county will likely do a much larger look at the same question through possibly a transportation growth management grant, which is a crossover between ODOT and DLCD. So it's a lot of jargon, but basically it's a recognition that South County is growing. We have significant demand for transit services, both to and from the metro area, but also to other places. And we're interested in studying that and building a vision for what that should look like in the future. Oh, and last, but certainly not least, we may have a new restaurant at 285 East Oregon. The place will be called, I just got a fence permit application from them, so it'll be called Banh Mi and Brews. They will serve Vietnamese and German food and beer. Oh, Seth, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I forgot I was on mute. What was the address? Where's this at?
The old Chamber of Commerce building, 285 East Oregon.
That was
Intermittently
recently
called the
remodeled.
One Go building.
Yeah, that one. Cool. Banh Mi is the name of it?
Yeah, banh mi and brews. So you'll be able to get pho and banh mi sandwiches, Vietnamese sandwiches, and also some German pretzels and some other things. I think it's a couple. Sarah Nguyen is from here, from Creswell, Rogers Road, maybe. And he is Vietnamese, and I think they both either served in the military or law enforcement, something like this. But their dream has always been to open a restaurant, and they decided here would be a place.
All right.
Hey, Maddie, have you heard anything from Tony Chapman on the daycare center area?
No, we keep putting it on the weekly building permit reports, though, that we're waiting for more information. But no sign.
All right. Do we have any other questions for Maddie? Any other interesting, fun things to talk about? Nobody? Okay. Well, our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 16th at this time. It doesn't say what time it's going to be at, so I'm sure we will figure that out as we go.
Do you all, while I've got you all on the phone, let's maybe take a quick poll. I could, now that I've got this system kind of rigged up, as it were, do you all feel like 5 o'clock would be a better time, just because that way you can officially be off work, or how do we do on the 4:30 time?
4:30 works fine for me, but I could do 5 too.
Okay.
I'm never really off at a certain time, so it doesn't really matter to me. 4:35, 6:30,
Okay.
9 p.m., you know. Been one of those weeks.
We'd have to bring different snacks or beverages if we were going to have it that late in the evening.
Yeah, which is exactly why I'm overweight, because I have to have lots of snacks to keep myself motivated at all hours of the day. Yep.
Keep up the good work, Susan.
Thank you. Okay, back
so
to me.
sounds like we could probably do 4:30 for the next meeting, or 5, or kind of whatever.
Okay.
Either way works, it sounds like.
Okay.
So we'll be hearing from you, I'm sure.
5 o'clock would work better for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Patrick, we want to try to get everybody, and I want to respect everyone's work schedules, especially in times like we're in right now, where there's a lot of economic uncertainty and people really need the hours and want to work the day. So let's say 5 o'clock next time. And if there's any change to that, I can let you know via email.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. It is 5:24 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone, for your hard work and for showing up.
Thank you.
I'm going to
And
unstream. Yep.
Maddie, thanks for being in my neighborhood today.
Oh, you bet. Yeah, we were distributing door hangers for the 4th of July. Hopefully everyone got one. There are 4 tickets for ice from the Kona ice truck that's going to go around to all the neighborhoods.
Nice.
Bye.
Bye.
Sure.